One small step for man, one giant leap to at least one Oscar nomination. Alright, it's just me again. I'm still a little sick, so that's why I'm kind of seeing this one solo style. That and everyone else is busy. Honestly, it's more the second one than the first one, but I just say it's the first one, so that way I don't feel so bad for being alone. But anyway, so I just got a First Man, which is the Ryan Gosling, clearly Oscar bait movie that's out right now. That's been getting great reviews. It's everyone's really seeming to like this one, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty solid film. I didn't love it. But it is a pretty solid film. Like, the way it's, especially like the technicalities of it and the way it's shot are fucking phenomenal. Especially there's a few sequences in the movie that in particular are just outstanding, like unbelievable. And I'll get to those in a little while. But the performances are all pretty good. I like the general themes of the movie, the themes of like conquering the unconquerable or doing the impossible, whether it's personal or literally doing what we thought everyone thought was impossible. So like all that stuff was great. The way it's shot looks great. I mean, I really like this director. I think his director's got a lot of talent. Of course, I think his first one we made was like La La Land. Actually, he's made beyond 3 films. That's like the 3rd one I've seen from him in the past few years. I'm gonna look it up really quick. But yeah, he made La La Land, which was good. Hasn't aged that well in my head, but I remember really liking when I first saw it. And then Whiplash was a movie I actually saw recently, and I'm not gonna lie, I've become fucking fascinated with that film since I saw it. I love Whiplash. Whiplash is fucking great. And now this movie, Damien Chazelle directed this movie, and he has he's directed 6 films, my bad. No, pretty much this is like his 3rd feature, so, yeah, so for a 3rd feature, this guy knows this. He has a pretty confident eye on how he wants his movies to shot, and they're very meticulous. They're very, very focused. It's very confident filmmaking. You got to respect that. That being said, I do feel like this is something noticed across all 3 movies I've seen him direct feature length. He does have issues making some cuts, which could lead to some pacing issues. Whiplash was largely pretty tight, but oddly enough, I did drag a couple of versions. You'll get that joke if you actually see Whiplash. Anyway, and this one, while you definitely understand the intention behind why it is as long as it is, and for the most part, it does succeed in what it's trying to do pretty well. It is definitely hard to get through some more technical aspects without kind of nodding off a bit. And I feel kind of bad saying that because there's definitely a great care to get the subject material right. There's definitely a great effort to present it in a very specific, like, it's a movement for mankind, not for America kind of way, which kind of emphasizes Neil Armstrong's most famous line he did when he made the moon landing steps. I'm a little tired. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so if I seem a little off, that's why. So it's definitely pulling the themes of this was a achievement for mankind, not just America. Because the whole space race thing is only barely brought up, only when it really needs to be brought up. Otherwise, it's all just focused on just making this massive achievement, which I think was a smart angle to play this. Ryan Gosling is kind of doing more of his traditional Ryan Gosling stuff, where he's kind of been more mellow and his acting is more subtle, but he does it with a character where that works better. Because in this movie, Neil Armstrong, and like, I'm not going to go over the plot, it's the moon landing. You know the plot. So, like, I don't really think I got much over it. Anyway, so Ryan Gosling plays Neil Armstrong, and in this version, like, I don't know about the real man, so I can't say how accurate this is to who he was in real life, but in this one, he's a very, very brilliant, very smart, simple man, pretty much, and Ryan Gosling very much plays that. He's a man of few words, doesn't really express himself all that much. He's mostly just focused on his work and focused on what he gets, and like, he still like has complexities to him. Like, he loses a daughter early on, and the narrative of the movie seems to be conquering the impossible in terms of getting to the moon, and also conquering the possible as in moving on from the death of his young daughter who died from cancer when she was little. At least I'm assuming that's why she died. And yeah, so Ryan Gosling's very much playing it very, very mellow and subtle. More so than Driver, which is another movie is it Driver or Drive? Drive, sorry. Where another movie it's kind of like, okay, I can't tell if he's being subtle or lazy. No, this one he's definitely he's definitely acting to his heart's content. He's definitely playing a really solid character, and he does a fantastic job from beginning to end. This is definitely a case where his more mellow acting style works to his benefit. It suits the character well. It does make it a little jarring because they play the actual. I'm assuming they play the actual recordings of Neil Armstrong at the very end when he's actually like lands on the moon at the very end. Spoiler. So it is a little jarring to hear, like, one, not being Ryan Gosling, and two, being way chattier than he is at any other point in the entire film. So that's a bit jarring. Sorry, like I said, I'm still a little sick. But he does a really good job. His wife in the movie, who I'm sad, I recognized her from stuff. I just don't remember what she was. Don't know who the actress is. I'm gonna look it up really fast. Claire Foy. Excuse me. Goddamn. Yeah. Who has not been many good things, unfortunately. No, she picks up most of the emotional slack of the movie, and she does a great job. Like, there's no bad performances in this movie. All the actors from top to bottom are great. I do. The writing is solid, if a little simplistic. I apologize for that relatively gross display. And again, like, it's not fantastic writing, but it gets the job done. It conveys the points it needs to convey. Most of the story is told visually, and I think that's where it makes it stand out the most. And, like, why I don't know if I'd, like, give Ryan Gosling the Oscar nod for, like, best leading actor or anything like that. Maybe Claire Foy for best supporting, but I would say, like, this definitely would get, like, best sound design and is visual design a category? I feel like it should be, but, like, best cinematography, I'd say would be like the visual design. I'm doing a lot of research in this review, so I apologize. That breaks the flow a bit. Visual design, Oscars, visual effects. Close enough. So yeah, I would give this like best visual effects, because what this movie does the best are the flying shots. The flying shots of the movie are absolutely phenomenal. And so, like, it's honestly worth, like, the intro alone is so fucking great. And it's like one of the most intense flying scenes I think I've ever seen. And every time there's a flying sequence in the movie, that's usually movie really excels in terms of sound design, in terms of how it's told visually, and how it's the presentation, the way it's shot, the way it's cut. All those scenes are damn near perfect. It's one of the few times I actually advocate for shaky cam, which usually leaves you disoriented. But in this case, you could argue that's kind of the point in conveying just, and you feel like you're in these shots. And you feel like you're in this position. And that's like the thing I think the movie does best, more than anything else in the movie, more than the acting, the writing, the storytelling, all that. The thing I think it does the best, and why it's probably got as critically praised as it is the immersion. The immersion in this movie, when it counts, is unbelievably good. Hello darkness, my old friend. Like, when it actually focuses on, like, the movie opens up with Ryan Gosling in, like, pre-rocket ship, I don't know what they're called. But anyway, it's like one of those jets that can, like, it's taken up by a plane, and you drop the jet and can actually go into the atmosphere for a bit. I don't know what you call those. But it starts, the movie opens up with, like, how they drop that ship and how it goes off into space and, like, how it shoots off and all the steering and all that stuff. But it's all told, about 90% of it's told within the viewpoint of the cockpit. They're all mostly POV shots of Ryan Gosling. He doesn't really say much. You only just hear him breathing, and you just see, like, everything's told visually. So, like, you see, like, his viewpoint, like, how he sees out the window, and, like, everything's told. It's like, it's really intense. It's hard to describe without you actually seeing it, but basically it basically gets you as close as you're ever going to get to actually feeling like you're flying inside one of these things without actually being inside of it. And it was like the most butt-clenching, like, shot I've seen in a really long time. And, like, I was, like, that was the most impressive part of the movie. Like, I can't remember last flying sequence I've seen, maybe, like, since Dunkirk, maybe? But even then, this shot's done better than it was in Dunkirk. Where you're just sitting there like, oh, fuck, this is really intense. Like, you feel like you're in this fucking airplane and as it's flying through the air and goes into space and all that shit. And it's fucking intense as shit. Like, it's honestly what might be the best sequence in the movie, except there's another sequence later on when they do go into space, when Neil Armstrong and one of his buddies whose name I forget, do go like into space, and like it was like the Genesis 8, I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they go off into space, but something goes wrong, and their ship kind of starts going to like a incredibly fast spin. And again, the way it's shot, 90% of it is shown through the viewpoint of the would you call it the cockpit? Let's call it the cockpit. And it's terrifying. Like, it's absolutely terrifying. Like, it's honestly one of the scariest sequences I've seen this year, of just like pants shitting. Oh my God, what do we do? How do we get out of the situation? And again, because the immersion is so damn good, you feel every inch of what the characters are going through at the time. It's the immersion part is really the most fascinating part of this film, and I feel like it's the part they make sure to get as right as possible, and that's a big reason why it works the best. And again, it's why I have a lot of respect for this director, because he's great at those intense shots where you can just feel what's happening. And Whiplash is the same thing too. Especially in the climax of Whiplash, kind of do the same thing, where like not a lot is said, but you can just feel what's going on. You can feel you can just feel what everyone's thinking at any given moment, and it's fucking great, and it's fucking great visual storytelling. And the Whiplash, it was phenomenal. In this movie, it's even better. Except you don't have J.K. Simmons just staring fucking daggers at you, which is like, man, Whiplash fascinates me on a personal level. But like shots like that, and even like when you actually gets on the moon, and it's a POV shot of like Neil Armstrong's helmet, so you kind of see him looking down, kind of hesitating to walk on the moon for the first time, kind of stalling for time by describing what it looks like, and how like when they actually open the hatch to get to the moon, it's just dead silence everywhere, and it's so well shot. And again, the immersion is so great, and you feel like just for the briefest moment that you're on the moon, is like shots like that are unbelievable, and they're so well done. So like if this movie got nominated for like best visual effects or best sound design, I'd say that's well earned. Like I said, if I would give acting nod to anybody, I'd say maybe Claire Foy as the wife Janet, but I feel like you're gonna get better possible nominations for this, but this is gonna get nominated for something for sure. Where was I? Yeah. Like other stuff it did well too. Like you can tell like the overall narrative of the film is like, as I mentioned before, the general theme of the film is just conquering the impossible. So like through most of the movie, Ryan Gosling is this very kind of shut-in person. Like you can tell he's going through a lot, but he doesn't talk about it. He deals with his pain very privately, and he doesn't really talk to his wife, and he's not comfortable at all with dealing with confrontation or having difficult conversations. He avoids it at all costs. Like he desperately tries to avoid having a conversation with his sons about him going to the moon, and maybe he won't come back. He's terrified of that conversation. His wife kind of forces him into it. He brings up his dead daughter once to somebody, and then it very quickly changes the subject and leaves. He leaves a funeral when things get too uncomfortable. He just does not like dealing with personal trauma. So while the theme is definitely like, okay, the him getting to the moon and is a metaphor for him overcoming every trial possible to eventually move on with his life. You get that. It's a good theme, and it's well done, and Ryan Gosling definitely sells it. Maybe I could have liked a little bit more personal, like emotional payoff out of it, but what we got was still pretty good. So I'm not gonna. That's kind of a nitpick. I will fully acknowledge that's absolutely a nitpick. So overall, this is a pretty solid movie. Like I don't really have much to say beyond that, because like of director's name. What is your director name? Sorry. Of Damien Chazelle's previous two feature films, I think this was kind of the least interesting. Because at least, like, whether you liked La La Land, loved it, or hated it, I feel like there's more to talk about with La La Land in terms of its themes and its narrative structure. And not to mention the acting had a bit more juice to it. Again, not to say it was bad, I just like there was more energy in the acting in La La Land. And there's definitely a lot of energy here. There's a lot of great energy here, but it's not in the acting. It's in the flying sequences. Same for Whiplash. Whiplash had a shit ton of energy from beginning to end. That's what makes the movie kind of so intense and kind of fascinating me on a personal level. Honestly, I can go on and on about Whiplash. I find that movie, I love that movie. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Whiplash. But yeah, there's just, beyond like the way it's shot and everything, like there's not a whole lot to talk about with this one. It's a pretty solid movie, and I if anything, my biggest complaint would just be that it just kind of drags on for too long. And again, it goes into immersion, so I don't know how mad I can be at it, that the parts that kind of drag on also play to its biggest strengths. But I don't know, I feel like maybe if the characters had been more meat, or... I also would have kind of liked if Neil Armstrong was kind of more like the actual Neil Armstrong we hear at the end of the movie, because there is definitely a very big difference on that, and it is kind of jarring to hear it. And maybe a bit more buzz just because I like that actor. But yeah, I think it's all I really have to say about this one. It's gonna be a remarkably short review, so I'm gonna talk about trailers now so I can eat my dinner. But yeah, even though it's like in my opinion. Actually, I say La La Land's a bit weaker. I was put if I was gonna rank Daniel Chazelle's movies at this point, it'd probably be like Whiplash, First Man, and then La La Land. As far as his feature length stuff goes, I know he's done some shorts. But yeah, of the films, like this one's kind of not as good as last work, but still pretty solid on its own. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm gonna quickly go through these trailers. Most of them I've talked about before, so I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on them. So yeah, just got through. Widows I've talked about a million times. Not gonna talk about that one again. The Girl in the Spider's Web. This trailer still has that line in it that kind of makes me laugh now because I've actually stopped to think about it. It's like, how is this spider's doing get caught in its own web? Which I guess is supposed to be meaningful. When I was like, well, because they're biologically engineered to not be stuck in it. Maybe that's the point. I don't know. I'll just wait till the movie comes out. And then we got Vice, which looks fantastic. That's definitely Oscar baity too, but yeah, Christian Bale's gonna win an award for something. And then we got another Oscar baity movie, which is Mary, Queen of Scots, which has Margot Robbie and the girl from Lady Bird, whose name I always forget, which is really a shame because she really is a fantastic actress. And both these actresses are fucking great, and seeing them together is like, okay, I'm down. And like the girl from Lady Bird being a hardcore Scottish queen, I'm fucking down for that. You don't fuck with Scotland. That's what you learn pretty fast. So yeah, that one looks pretty good. Instant Family I've talked about before. Robin Hood I've talked about before, with the added wrinkle that apparently Kingsman guy, just Edgerton, something like that, had apparently really studied his ass off in archery and can actually shoot really fucking well. So I'm kind of curious to watch it just for that alone. Then I got the newer trailer for Aquaman. Aquaman's been a curious case for me. And if you see my other video about this, and you kind of get an idea why. Aquaman, and I've talked a bit on Twitter too. Aquaman is one of those movies where I want to be excited for it. Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff I like. The orange suit is there, the look is good, and it's everything looks really good. Black Mantis looks great. And it's very colorful, and it's definitely taking advantage of the concept, but for some reason it's not grabbing me. And I'm having a hard time pinning down why. Right now, my working theory right now is that and I feel bad for saying this because I like the guy, but I just don't think Jason Momoa's Zack Snyder interpretation of Aquaman really clashes with what this movie feels like it's going for. And it just, every trailer I see of it, it's just not really working. Because he's definitely playing the surfer bro, image of masculinity thing that Zack Snyder was clearly going for. And it's pairing this, and it's doing that imagery with this larger than life, Game of Thrones but underwater kind of story, and they're just not really working that well together. And I don't really know if this interpretation of Aquaman really has the screen presence to hold his own movie. And yeah, that's a hard feeling for me to shake once I kind of realize that. And I think the problem is just this interpretation of Aquaman isn't a strong enough character to really stand on his own. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's good. I mean, DC could use a win, but I don't know, guys. I just don't know. And then the last trailer I got was for Green Book. Which that movie looks Oscar baity as shit, but goddamn it, I want to see it. Because that movie is like a couple of actors that are like traditionally turn in phenomenal jobs. Like Viggo Mortensen is in it, and more importantly, I think I always have a hard time saying his name, so that's why I'm looking up the actor's name. Mahershala Ali, who is a phenomenal actor and is definitely finally getting his due, and especially after Moonlight, he was great in that movie. And he's a fantastic actor, and it's good to see Viggo Mortensen back, because we haven't seen him in a long time. Honestly, he was always my pick to play the lone gunsman in the Gunslinger movie, which I still say he could do it. But yeah, those two together, I'm down in a road trip movie. They're both phenomenal actors. That's enough to sell me on the movie. So that was last trailer, and that's I think all I got for First Man. Final thoughts: it's good. It's pretty good. But it definitely dragged. But there are a few key sequences that are definitely worth watching just to see those. So make that what you will, guys. Sorry if this wasn't like the craziest review I've ever done. This one's actually pretty straightforward. But later this week, we do have Halloween, which I think me and Grant are seeing, and The Hate You Give, which I'm going to try and make time to see like tomorrow or Wednesday. I think me and Grant are seeing Halloween on Friday, not Friday, Thursday. So yeah, keep an eye out for those. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.